Hi guys and welcome to Norwegian Modeling Bench. This is Kenneth and it's time for a new build series. So this time I will be building the USS Missouri BB-63 in the 1945 configuration using the Hobbyboss kit that I have done a review on before, and then using also this Pontos detail up set. For this installment, I will be working on the hull and adding the PE parts that goes on the hull, and also painting up and weathering the hull. During this entire build, I will also be using some extra parts. So the last time, if you've seen my CV6 build, I used some Bunker Studio parts, so I will be using these Bofors guns. I will be using the ammo boxes, which there are several of, and then also the Oerlikon guns. So I hope that you enjoy this one, and that hopefully I can give you some insight into how I approach my builds. So, enjoy. Start out by adding the bilge keels to the hull. There are no positive connections for these ones, so you need to follow the lines that are marked on the hull. I'm using masking tape to make the keel adhere to those lines, and then using thin CA glue to make a bond. Then also using extra thin cement for those as well. And then we have these propeller wings, if I could call it that. So you need to attach them to the hull. And of course you have some gaps between the hull itself and those that you need to work on later on. Then you have the propeller shafts that you need to add. There are some parts as well that you need to add inside the hull. The shaft doesn't go too far in. So there are also some outlines where the wing part is attached, and of course using extra thin cement to make the bond. So not a big deal there. You also have some rudder parts that you need to fit into those two slots that you can see at the end there. So starting out filling those gaps, I've used a combination of both putty and Mr. Surfacer, Mr. Surfacer 500, and then going upwards in granularity. And then using leveling thinner to remove the excess Mr. Surfacer, so then you don't need to do as much sanding as you otherwise would need to do, which of course is a lot easier than doing a lot of sanding work. So that's at least a good approach, I would say, filling tiny gaps. And then making or gluing the nuts for the pedestals in place, so preparing for that one. And then we have these PE parts coming from the Pontos set. It's a lot of them, and they need to be added in the correct order. There are several different sizes. So yeah, use patience, just one at a time, and make sure that they are more or less perpendicular to the upper part of the hull. So that should be a fairly easy job, and don't do a lot of mess with the CA glue. That will be very visible, so make sure that you keep it tidy. So these are the colors that I'm using: deck blue, anti-fouling, navy blue, haze gray, and dull black. They're all from Scale Colors, and you can find the part number, item number here. So if you want to check that out, please do. I'm very happy with these paints, not necessarily that much with the customer service. So adding some pre-shading here, so using the black dull black after of course having primed the entire hull. You don't need to necessarily be very precise when doing this. As you can see, it's not that tidy. The entire point here is to have some shading that you can see beneath the main colors when going forward. So after adding the haze gray on the upper part of the bow, I'm painting the navy blue color. So doing layer by layer, making sure that we can still see the pre-shading that we have done and that we don't overflood, of course, the details of the hull. And then doing some preparations for the deck, so adding deck blue on the edges here, that would otherwise be gray. So I think it's a good time to do it at this point in time. Also making sure that you have the airbrush in the direction so you don't get any color or overspray on what you have already done on the hull itself. So yeah. So then we have the red anti-fouling. The boot stripe, of course, has been painted before this. So that's approximately 5 millimeters if you want to have it in correct width. So again, layer by layer, here you can see the pre-shading pretty well. Of course, this is just before having all the layers. Then adding some steel color to the shaft. This is just an AK, no, it's an MIG color, using also a bit of thinner so you get a good flow. That's otherwise, at least with a lot of these metal colors, it might get a bit lumpy. And then adding some color to those zinc anodes that you will have on the rudder and on the propeller shaft. And then adding some dry transfer. So I'm using usually these kind of tapes to keep it in place. That makes it a lot easier if you're not being able to transfer it all, then you can just glue it back on. Just be careful when you remove it so you see that actually all the numbers or the details have been transferred. If not, then you can just pull it back. So then using a panel liner to accent those panel lines in the hull, the plating lines. So I'm using 3 different colors here, a dark gray for the upper part of the hull, then on navy blue and haze gray, and then a light gray on the boot stripe, and then a brownish color on the lower part of the hull where you have the red anti-fouling. Of course, this takes a bit of time. Again, you don't necessarily need to be very exact, but of course, then less work when tidying up afterwards. So then moistening a brush in a bit of white spirit, and then working across the hull to remove the excess panel line. And of course, this is what I want to achieve. Also the green moss color. So I'm starting out here by using a rust deposit color or wash, extremely thinned out. And also using a light rust crust color. Also added some salt streak and also heavily thinned out. Adding that to the hull, trying to get that rust appearance in place. And as you can see, it's layer upon layer. So this takes a bit of time, and you should definitely use a mask if you're not doing this in a well ventilated area. And then finally, I'm using a varnish to seal the crust in place. And then adding the moss color, so the algae growth that you will have on the hull, especially around the boot line area, boot topping, I guess it's called. And then preparing the propellers, using some brass color. figuring out that that is a bit too neat. So also then adding some bronze color, light touch of bronze color, so it has a bit of a worn, aged appearance, and not shiny brass at least. So adding those to the hull, we are finished with the first part. So that is the hull. I hope that you like this one. Remember, this is 1/350 scale. So until next time, keep safe. Please like and subscribe, and I do appreciate comments. Bye for now.